Look at the wire basket rolling ahead of you. It isn't a cart for food, it is a physical browser navigating a brick-and-mortar database. Have you ever walked down an aisle and looked up at a digital price tag, watching the numbers flicker and drop by 12 cents right as your hand reached for the shelf? That real-time adjustment is the first layer of the merger. We have traded the local marketplace for a dynamic, algorithmic vending grid. 25 years ago, a grocery store was a static landscape of physical discovery. When you pushed through those heavy automatic doors, you entered a localized vault of raw materials. No corporate network tracked the hesitation of your eyes across different brands of cereal. No software update could instantly rewrite the cost of flour based on supply chain bottlenecks in another hemisphere. You were the sole pilot of an offline hunt, and you didn't realize that selecting your sustenance was synonymous with self-reliance. But in 2026, the grocery store is no longer a place where you pick food. It is a data harvesting maze designed to map your behavioral psychology. To walk the aisles today is to occupy a moving coordinate in a vast, telemetry-driven logistics experiment. That shift from the physical pantry to the tracked consumer path didn't happen by accident. It followed a blueprint. I'm the Analyst. This is Blueprint Sequence. Step back 25 years. In 2001, the grocery store was a tactile wilderness. The blueprint was defined by physical friction and absolute logistical anonymity. Remember the geography of the aisle. It was a sensory, unscripted expedition. The freezing blast of the open-air dairy case, the heavy scent of crushed cardboard and floor wax, and the rattle of a mismatched front wheel vibrating against the green linoleum tiles. You didn't receive a personalized notification pushing a discount code for coffee. You scanned a physical wall of colorful boxes, relying entirely on memory, sight, and your own intuition to decide what would feed your household for the week. Remember the intimacy of the transaction. When you reached the front of the store, you engaged in a manual human ritual. You placed your items one by one onto a thick black conveyor belt that smelled of rubber, watching a cashier physically flip each box to find the static barcode. You paid with paper coupons clipped from a Sunday newspaper and wrinkled dollar bills pulled from your pocket. The register didn't know your name, your household income, or your dietary restrictions. It was a blind, isolated machine. Once you walked out into the parking lot with your brown paper bags, the store completely forgot you ever existed. On the shelves, prices were pressed onto paper stickers with an analog ink gun. A can of soup cost the same at 8 in the morning as it did at 9 at night, completely indifferent to the weather outside or the real-time inventory levels in the back room. There was an acceptance of localized limitation. If the store was out of tomatoes, you changed your menu. That minor frustration was the very proof of your independence from the machine. You were a shopper, not an optimized conversion metric. This was the era of absolute anonymity. Your cart didn't catalog its own contents, and the floorboards didn't track your footsteps to create a heat map of corporate real estate. You navigated a physical space, and the space had no memory. You were the ghost in the market. Fast forward to 2026. The blueprint has shifted from a public market to a leased logistics asset. The store now operates on 3 distinct levels of algorithmic friction. The first level is the algorithmic gatekeeper. The items are still physical, the apples, the bread, the meat, but they are locked behind a digital layer of loyalty apps and personalized QR codes. If you choose not to download the software or surrender your phone's location data, you are penalized with a higher price at the register. You are paying a tax on physical sustenance unless you consent to being tracked. This is the ultimate triumph of the blueprint, the transformation of hunger itself into a tracked billing event. The second level is the death of the local. The algorithm has entirely ironed out the topography of regional food culture. There are no more seasons within the modern terminal. There is only predictive supply management. The system smooths away the volatility of local agriculture by standardizing inventory across entire continents, using hyper-monitored distribution hubs to dictate exactly what is allowed to exist on a shelf. The heirloom variety, the small batch harvest, the independent regional distributor, they are treated as inefficiencies by a network that demands total predictability. We have traded the organic variety of the earth for a sterile, calculated equilibrium. The third level is the total surveillance grid. Overhead cameras track the exact trajectory of your hand, noting what you pick up and put back. Smart shopping carts scan items the moment they enter the wire basket, link them to your credit card, and charge you automatically the second you cross the threshold. The grocery store isn't a room, it's a physical commerce terminal designed to manage your household inventory while the system manages your data. We haven't just lost the cashiers, we've lost the veil between our biological hunger and the corporate market. By 2051, the concept of a centralized corporate grocery store will be a memory from an era when humans were still dependent on a detached distribution grid. The architecture of survival is separating into two distinct branching sequences. The first blueprint, the automated subsurface swarm. The grocery store vanishes from the surface of the earth entirely. Below the city streets, a massive, hyper-efficient network of robotic fulfillment hives manages the entire agricultural output. You don't buy food, a continuous stream of subterranean delivery pods docks directly into your kitchen cabinet, replenishing standardized nutrient bases and synthetic proteins based on real-time biometric analysis from your home. But consider the cost to the human experience. A generation that never sees a field of crops or stands in a room full of fresh produce will eventually lose its visceral understanding of life and decay. We are no longer eaters, we are just biological assets, being fueled by an automated subterranean grid. Alternatively, the second blueprint, the decentralized canopy. In this sequence, the collapse of global logistics forces a radical recovery of the marketplace. The neighborhood grocery store returns, but it is engineered as a high-tech communal commons. Neighborhoods utilize automated vertical farming towers integrated directly into the architecture of the block. The market becomes a physical, high-friction social space where citizens manually harvest hyperlocal, genetically resilient produce alongside community-managed automated distribution kiosks. The corporate middleman is bypassed completely. We reclaim the sensory ritual of the harvest and the safety of localized abundance, but we accept a world of radical geographical limits. If a crop cycle fails at the neighborhood station, the community absorbs the scarcity together. Both potentials represent the final evolution of the sequence. We have moved from the gatherer to the consumer to the cargo. In this final transition, we have perfected the logistics, but we must choose who commands the grid. The distribution blueprint is still being drafted, but the lanes are already being cleared. We began this sequence pushing a heavy wire basket, feeling the cold condensation of a milk carton and counting physical coins in our palms. We end it as biological nodes, navigating a hyper-calibrated supply machine. The blueprint of the grocery store was never just about selling food, it was about the basic architecture of human access. And as the unmonitored aisle disappears from our world, we must look at our plates and recognize that a world without a physical marketplace is a world where the individual no longer chooses the path to survival. Every item we place in our cart now leaves a permanent record in the corporate data logs. The aisle is watching, the grid is learning, and the blueprint is nearly complete. I'm the analyst. Sequence complete.